Hey everyone, Chris here from the Extra Shift and also an admin in the Australian NHL fans Facebook page. I'm just recording this to give everyone a more step-by-step guide as to how to access the NHL games through the WATCH ESPN app, largely using Fetch but also referencing Foxtel. Now this is something we're putting up to respond to the number of people asking questions about this. Obviously this has been the arrangement for the past 2 years and looks like it will be an arrangement going forward as well. So let's move into it. So before we begin, to answer some questions and things that get put up whenever we mention this in the group, I am not paid by anyone, especially ESPN or Fetch in particular, to do any of this. There are no connections, do not work for them, do not have affinity with them, get no special deals or kickbacks. This is just the easiest way to help people access the NHL in Australia legally. And that's very important. What I'm running through applies to the ESPN through Fetch or Foxtel only. This is a very important point. KO is not included. This will not be accessible through KO. So if you have a KO subscription, you can watch whatever happens to be on ESPN on KO, but you won't be able to use your KO subscription to then watch anything extra. Only way to watch the extra is by either having Fetch or Foxtel. Now I'm going to start by running through Fetch. Foxtel is pretty much the same thing, but you already have a Foxtel subscription. The reason I'm going to run through Fetch is, for me, Fetch is, and we'll get to it in a minute, but is a cheaper option and is a better option long term. So there are two ways to get it. Internet providers will give you it, a retailer. You can buy the box. I think the mini's about 70 to 90 bucks if you buy it brand new. You can buy them secondhand, and that is perfectly fine for what we're doing. And you only need the mini. You don't need to go to the mini 4K or the Mighty, because realistically, the box is just a tool to get the activation code. You don't need to actually watch any of this on the Fetch box once you have it. You only need the Fetch box to get the activation code. So let's move into the benefits. $6 a month for the package that includes ESPN, and that includes ESPN, MTV, Comedy Central. Now again, I'm not selling you Fetch because I work for them, but I was a subscriber for years to Foxtel, got rid of that because paying that much money for Foxtel was a bit of a waste of time. In my mind, and this is my personal belief here, you could spend $25 on a sports package plus whatever you're paying for your basic Foxtel, or you could spend $6 a month on a package for ESPN. If you want it for hockey, I don't think that's a bad deal. So once you've done that, and once you've got your Fetch box signed up and all of that signed up and working, and that'll be really simple and straightforward. They give you step-by-step guides on how to do that, so I'm not going to go through setting up Fetch. When you go to espn.com.au, there's a couple of things to note. First of all, in the very top corner, you will see the shadow icon for an account. Create a free ESPN account. That takes you 2 seconds. It's completely free. You don't pay anything for it. Once you've done that and created an account, you move over and go to the tab there that says Watch, which I have highlighted, and you click the red bit that says Watch ESPN. What that will do is that will send you to this tab. So all of this is being demonstrated on a PC, but it's very much a similar process on a phone, but except the app is actually far more straightforward, because once you have the app, it will take you straight to that, because the ESPN app takes you straight into a base version of this, which is actually easier to understand. So, and there's a little plus at the bottom in the app that just says Watch, so you don't have to go through the other menus. So if you look here, this is the Watch ESPN tab. Now on there you can see everything that's live at the moment on top, and then there's ESPN Films, and don't worry about that. These are all things you can click on to watch. Now you'll know that you're not logged in to be able to watch any of this, because the top bar is blank. Where it says Watch, Home, Schedule, and all of that, in the top corner under the icon, it's blank. As you'll see later when you log in, it puts up your subscription in the bar below there to say you're logged in. So what you do is, once you get to this screen, if you click on any of those things to watch, it will bring up this. And when it brings this up, it then gives you those two box options, Fetch or Foxtel. If you click Foxtel, if you're a Foxtel subscriber, it will take you to another page where you will log in using your Foxtel ID. Once you log in, it will link your Foxtel account to ESPN and you will be able to access it. If you are going through Fetch, you click on the Fetch and it will take you to this screen. This screen has activation code or Fetch ID. All you do is on your Fetch device in settings, there is literally a thing that says activation code. If you click it, it will bring up a code. Type that code into the box and hit sign in. It will then log you in. And if you hit remember me, you don't have to do it again. It will then sign up and notify ESPN that this is your Fetch account, and it will connect the two. When you then go back, as you can see in the top corner, the word Fetch is there, which means I am signed in as a Fetch subscriber. Now this is clicking on the Schedules and Replays tab. You can see that's underlined, Schedule and Replay. That is underlined. That means we're on that tab. Now there are three parts of that tab: Live Now, Upcoming, and Replay. Upcoming is usually what is highlighted when you log into this tab. So that means everything that's happening in the future. I know it sounds really obvious, but I'm really explaining this as straightforward as I can. What you'll want to do if you want to watch a game that's happening is literally click on the Live Now, and then you'll scroll down and it has all the sports and you can see whatever it is. Whichever game you want to watch. So here, for example, the replay of Bruins Panthers was on ESPN2 when I did this. So if you click on that, on the title, Boston Bruins versus Florida Panthers, if you click on that blue link, it will then open up the game in front of you and then you can watch it. That's literally how you watch it. There'll usually be a 15-second ad or something at the start, and then that's it and you can watch it. Now, if you are on the app and you want to cast it, when you open it up, it'll come up on your phone. Then when it comes up, you'll get something that looks like this. And then if you look, I've highlighted in the top corner, that's on an iPhone. If you hit that, that will then let you cast to Apple TV. If you've got a Chromecast set up and you're on a phone that allows you to Chromecast, if you hit that button, it will allow you to send it to the Chromecast. Obviously, you've got to be connected to your Wi-Fi network at home. So if you're not seeing that, that could be part of the issue as well. So when you hit that button, though, it will allow you to either Chromecast or cast to an Apple TV. And so you can watch whatever you're watching on your phone on that. So that lets you watch it there. So to summarize, you need the ESPN app on the phone to connect it to either Chromecast or Apple TV via that. You can't use a web browser on your phone for that. It will tell you to get the app. The app is more stable anyway, and it's easier to cast from. Now, as I've also put there, a Mac computer will allow you to connect to Apple TV. So you can put whatever up on the screen and then you can literally off a Mac cast to your Apple TV. And all browsers that are Chrome browsers will let you Chromecast. So if you're on a computer and you've got the game open in Chrome, if you go to the top corner of Chrome, it will open up, you hit the button and it'll let you see what devices are available for your Chromecasting. So you can cast it off a laptop, you can cast it off a computer. So if you've got a computer in a downstairs room and your TV is upstairs, you can cast. No, not all games are on the ESPN channels. And this is something we get all the time. I've got this, but now I'm looking and ESPN doesn't have all the games. No, they don't have all the games on Fetch ESPN's channels. All of the games are on the Watch ESPN app, every single one of them. Often, although not always, with multiple feeds. So if you've got Leafs versus Rangers, for example, you'll probably get either a TSN or Sportsnet feed for Toronto, and you'll get the MSG feed for the Rangers. Not always. Sometimes it's only either the ESPN team or the Sportsnet TSN or whatever local market it happens to be. Sometimes it'll be the TNN team as well. So you've got a range of different options there. Not always. Sometimes you're going to be stuck. And I know there are people who don't like certain commentators. Unfortunately, them's the breaks. That's what you're getting. Replays are available for every single game as well. I went back and was watching some games yesterday from December. I went back and was watching some games from November as well, and then went back and looked at a couple of March ones yesterday. Once the game's finished, it appears in the Replays tab, and you can use the calendar and go back as far as you want. Now, once you understand it, and once you've used it for a bit, accessing these games is actually really easy. And I've lived through the NHL TV time, and a lot of people now are talking about wanting to go back to the NHL TV days because, oh, that was so much simpler. If you actually remember living through those days, it was a very unstable platform. You got no pre, post, or interval or intermission unless you were really lucky. Usually, San Jose Sharks West Coast feeds were probably it. As a Sharks fan, I know that, but most of the time there were no intermissions, unless you were watching Hockey Night in Canada. That was the only thing you really got. Here, although not always, you do get a lot more intermission feeds. You do get a lot more pre and post game as well. Not complete, but in a lot of circumstances, especially if you've got a TNN coverage feed or sometimes an ESPN feed, you are more likely to get those pre and posts and intermission feeds as well. So that's been a bit of a benefit as well for what we've got through here. It's actually more reliable because a lot of even though we shouldn't have had blackouts, NHL TV would occasionally sometimes come up with that issue. There's no blackouts. We haven't had any blackouts on Watch ESPN. Now, again, it's not perfect. There are still some issues in terms of sometimes commentary levels take a bit to adjust. Sometimes feeds take a bit to adjust. They are still nailing it down, but it's a lot more reliable than what the old NHL TV was. And it's really easy to access. And for $6 a month, it's not bad value. So this is the easy way that you can access everything. Obviously, if you've got any more questions, please feel free to sort of post more questions under this in terms of how this all works, not in terms of what the future of the deal is or how do we fix the fact that the feeds don't work in terms of I want this commentary team, because we can't fix those. We're only helping people on how to get access to what's available. So any questions, please post them in the comments. Otherwise, enjoy.